Jocko Willink. Maybe he might have been on the Joe Rogan. Everything fell apart.
Thank you guys for joining me for episode 2 of Bro Talk. Thank y'all for your time again, and thank you everybody for watching. I hope that y'all enjoyed episode 1, and if you haven't seen that, you can go to the channel on YouTube and watch that. We talked a little bit about what it means to be a good man, what makes up a godly man, attributes and characteristics of it. And we're going to dive into a little more detail about that and just kind of unpack that a little bit more. And we're also going to talk about some of the things that could lead you to become the bad man, some of the cultural issues that you can get caught up in as a young guy that would lead down that path. And so we're just going to kind of open the floor and let anybody jump in and make a point on that if they want to. Let's start off with describing a little more what a good man is to you guys. If you have any examples of guys personally in your life, things they've done, or just someone you know of that really to you embodies a good, godly man.
Jesus.
Hey.
No, I mean, to be honest, there's mentors in my life. I've been lucky enough to have a dad who I really do appreciate, and someone I would say that is a good man. And primarily it is because of his focus and loyalty towards our family. And there isn't a lot of that going on right now, especially, in America. I believe the divorce rate's like 50%, something crazy. Yeah. So I would say my dad, just for the fact that he was okay with sticking around. And I appreciate that a lot. So.
Yeah, and it's a rarity to see guys who not only choose to stick around, but choose to train up their children in the way they should go, as the scripture says, right, and do it with conviction and passion. And unfortunately, not everybody gets that blessing. And I was fortunate enough to have a dad do the same thing. So we kind of have an unfair advantage in that light. But at the same time, I've heard so many stories of guys who didn't let that be an excuse for them to head down the wrong path and become the bad. Yeah. They still overcame the unfortunate circumstances they were put in by not having a good male role model in their life. And even though they didn't have a dad right there every day to do that for them, they went out and they sought those kind of people. Yeah. So that's just that's a great point to make.
Just staying committed, there's a lot to be said. There's a lot, you can learn a lot from a man by how well he keeps his commitments. And I've heard it said that being a man and being committed are they're not, you can't separate them. They're basically the same thing. A man keeps his word, and when he says he's going to do something, he does it to completion. Yep. And if you think about it, there hasn't been any kind of invention or any kind of movement started by someone who wasn't fully committed to that thing. No great accomplishment has ever been made by a fickle or flaky person, man or woman. And so just the quality of a good person in general is just staying committed to the things that you want to do.
Real. I like that point because we're doing 50 Days to Freedom with the youth group right now. And one of the things that I'm being super convicted about right now is just discipline in a lot of aspects of my life. And I'm looking around at mentors that I look up to a lot and I go to for advice, and just seeing the discipline in their life. People I consider great men, they all across the board have really good discipline, at least in most aspects of their life. And I think that begins to carry over. We talked about last week, if you work out, that carries over into how you eat, that carries over into the way you manage your time. But just looking at mentors and looking at people that I consider great men, all of them across the board have a good handle on discipline, on time management, on taking care of themselves, on taking care of people around them. So just discipline is something that I've noticed and been working on.
Talking about commitment, Noah, It was who was it? Thomas Edison, who said, I didn't fail at creating the light bulb 999 times. I figured out 999 different ways to not make the light bulb. Until I found the right way. But without commitment, without perseverance, without this mindset that I'm not stopping until I figure out how to get this done, is what got him ultimately to figuring out and changing the entire world with that. So commitment, that is a great attribute of a godly man, and definitely one that we should focus on. And if you're a young guy watching this, you need to be thinking about what are the things that I can be doing throughout the day, or start doing and be committed to. I would say definitely one is reading the word and praying, spending time with the Lord. If you make that a daily habit, we can all tell you from experience that will absolutely change your life. And I don't know about y'all, but when I start to go a day, 2-3 days without reading the word, without praying, there's a noticeable difference in my attitude, in my mindset, my joy level, how peaceful my life feels. When you are not committed to every day spending time with God, things just start going south. So make that a commitment in your life.
Yeah, consistency is something that every young man needs to be practicing right now. And if it's not praying, and if it's not reading your word, which I would strongly suggest, if you're not a Christian and you're watching this, feel free to reach out to any one of us, and we'll for sure talk to you. But consistency on all levels of your life. This includes making your bed every morning, the small stuff, doing your laundry, making sure that you're maintaining a cleanly lifestyle in your room, or working out, for example, getting your homework done, time management in that way, staying consistent in one area of life moves to other areas of life and creates a larger impact altogether. And I think we mentioned that last episode.
Yeah, whenever you make a commitment to somebody to do something, you have to do it. So even if it becomes inconvenient, if you tell a friend like, hey, yeah, I'll come hang out with you at this time or whatever, then what's so funny? What am I
Is that Ryan Reynolds shirtless on your computer?
I think you just noticed.
Wait, hold on. Wait, I'm clicking on a screen. What the heck is on? What the heck? Dude, what is that?
What?
Yo. I didn't realize I'd be seeing
that's the screensaver, bro.
Wow. Okay, sorry.
My hero. Sorry.
I'm not really surprised. I'm just a little bit concerned, but not really.
My first time getting to talk, and then y'all interrupt me with my background.
Bro, it's your fault. The freaking Ryan Reynolds nipples on your screen. What am I supposed to do?
I don't know. Maybe practice self-control.
I can't take you seriously. I'm sorry. All right.
That's a separate conversation, guys.
I'm just gonna listen.
Separate conversation. We're gonna talk about that next episode. Why that is there.
No, we're not. Don't worry.
Yeah, we are. So where was I? I was talking about if you tell somebody that you're gonna do something, you got to do it. So like I remember there were people I went to high school with who I would ask to hang out, and then they would give like a soft yes. And if something better came along, then they would always ditch me for the better thing, and then I would be stuck waiting for something, So huh?
That's so sad.
I was a loser in high school, not gonna lie.
No, but you're exactly right. Just even the little things like that. Just say, if you tell somebody you're gonna hang out, go hang out with them.
Yeah.
Bible says, "Let your yes be yes, let your no be no." So if you're gonna agree to something, say yes. If you're not, say no. Don't give like a soft yes and be like, "Oh, I'll probably be there if something better doesn't come along," because then that just shows to people that they are not a priority to you. And you don't ever want to be that guy that people refer to as like inconsistent or doesn't keep his commitments,
Yeah. And you guys give me a yes or no on this. For anybody watching, for me, I prefer for people to just be straight up and tell me like, no, I would rather not hang out tonight. Let's do it another night. Would you all prefer people to just say that? Like,
oh yeah,
like you're saying, just say yes or no. Don't try to sugarcoat your answer or be like, yeah, maybe if I'm free, let me see what happens later on. Just be like, I'm not down to hang out tonight. I'm not feeling it. Let's do it another night.
Yeah, but I feel like there can be instances where like you are legitimately waiting to find out what's going on. So you're not, it's not necessarily, I guess you're talking about a soft yes or whatever, but there are instances where your yes is, yeah, I'm pretty sure I can be there, might not be able to be there. And I think that's also an okay answer. But yeah, switching just because something more fun came up, that's not right.
There's another note. Don't be a guy who can't take a hard no or a hard yes.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, that's very true. And also, I think the point Colton is making is if you don't want to hang out with somebody, don't make your answer, let me see or let me around it. If you don't want to hang out tonight, just say, no, I don't want to hang out tonight.
Yeah, no, that's good. And I think that sorry, go ahead. It's all good. Well, I was going to say,
we're going to get this down, guys. We're going to get it down.
Yeah, we're going to get it down. I was going to say we'll have to make another episode about it, but that goes on into dating as well. Like a lot of guys get upset. They're like, I don't understand what's going on with girls. Like, why do they say yes? But then why are girls so confusing? They act like they want to date or whatever. And it's like girls, don't want to hurt the guy's feelings or whatever. And so that goes back to Noah. Like you got to be able to take a hard no. You got to be able to take the other answer. Like if you want girls to be straight up with you and them to somewhat make sense to our brains that don't want to understand girls, then you've got to be able to take the no when a girl says, hey, I don't want to hurt your feelings, so I'm not going to lie to you. No, I don't want to go on a date with you. It's like, that sucks, but okay. And so it's the same way, like just, for real. So
Noah, you mentioned,
I don't know.
I was going to say, Noah was starting to talk about earlier. He started to go down the simple things every day, like making your bed, brushing your teeth, creating discipline and commitment. And there's a great speech by William McRaven. He's a U.S. Navy admiral.
Oh, dude, that guy's so good.
He had that famous speech where he was like, if you want to be successful, or I forget how he worded it, start by making your bed.
Every morning in SEAL training, my instructors, who at the time were all Vietnam veterans, would show up in my barracks room, and the first thing they'd do was inspect my bed. If you did it right, the corners would be square, the covers would be pulled tight, the pillow centered just under the headboard, and the extra blanket folded neatly at the foot of the rack. It was a simple task, mundane at best, but every morning we were required to make our bed to perfection. It seemed a little ridiculous at the time, particularly in light of the fact that we were aspiring to be real warriors, tough, battle-hardened SEALs. But the wisdom of this simple act has been proven to me many times over. If you make your bed every morning, you will have accomplished the first task of the day. It will give you a small sense of pride, and it will encourage you to do another task, and another, and another. And by the end of the day, that one task completed will have turned into many tasks completed. Making your bed will also reinforce the fact that the little things in life matter. If you can't do the little things right, you'll never be able to do the big things right. And if by chance you have a miserable day, you will come home to a bed that is made, that you made. And a made bed gives you encouragement that tomorrow will be better. So if you want to change the world, start off by making your bed.
So he said it best, and I don't know how he said it, but if you want to be successful, start by making your bed, start with the little things. And it really is so true. And when you get guys that are 12, 13 years old, they're still trying to learn how to be consistent and be committed even to those little things. But it's like we said in the last episode, when you get better at discipline in one area, it carries over to another area. So
it really does.
Quick question for you guys. What, like big picture wise, because I think it's really a question that can only be answered in the big picture, but what motivates y'all to want to be disciplined at all? Like for a kid who's trying to learn how to be disciplined and they just can't motivate themselves to make their bed, that doesn't seem super important to them. Like why do y'all even want to learn how to be committed and disciplined and consistent in those little things?
Hugs definitely motivate me. Like if someone offers me a hug, I will do anything for them. That is my one motivation.
No, admiration from other people.
No hugs. I don't care if you admire me. I just want a hug. You can hate my guts as long as you hug me. I think I'll be pretty happy.
For me, legit, it has a lot to do with the ladies. You know, I don't want to be. I hear horror stories about girls who like think this guy is like super attractive. He like asks them out and stuff, and they go back to like their dorm room in college, and the guy's living like an absolute pig, and that's why she's like, oh no, this isn't gonna work. That stuff, I'm like, dude, how old? You're what, 21, 22, and you have beer cans and Copenhagen dip cans all in your room and stuff like that. Like, grow up. Like, learn how to manage your space.
Yeah. And you're just talking about like dating, but even more than that, big picture wise for your marriage, nobody is going to want to marry a man that does not have his room under control. Like,
Heck no.
it seems like such a simple thing, but to them, it's a much bigger thing.
One of Jordan Peterson's 12 rules for life is make sure your house is in order before you criticize the world. So before you start trying to fix other people's lives or fix anything else in life, you got to make sure your room is in order.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yo, Austin's face just popped up for me.
What's I'm missing you?
My room might not be the cleanest, guys. It really is. My kitchen. Hey, all of my dishes are done, so I'm getting there. Like, my kitchen has begun to remain clean.
Go ahead and boot Austin off. We'll bring him on whenever his room's clean.
Dating material, right there. Boom.
Oh, we said this in the first episode, guys. We're not perfect. We're still learning. We're still getting all this down. So, if your environment around you is messy and chaotic, that's going to cause your mind to be messy and chaotic. And if your mind is messy and chaotic, then your life is going to be messy and chaotic. I just cannot stress enough how important it is to be clean and organized in your life. I don't see it any other way that if that is not going to become a habit in your life, I've seen too many people not take control of that. And then I've seen it affect their relationships. I've seen it affect their attitude on the daily. And it's just super important. So if you're a young guy listening to this and you're trying to figure out how to keep clean and organized, look it up on YouTube how to do it. There's plenty. I don't know.
Yeah. Bible says faithful in the little, ruler over much.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
You gotta be faithful with your room. You gotta be faithful with heck, if you don't have a car, be faithful with your bicycle. God will bless you with a car. Be faithful with your car. God will get you a nicer car. Like, you just gotta be faithful with the smaller things that you have in life, and then the greater things will come.
Yeah.
If you're having trouble with that, I can send you voice recordings of Noah yelling at me, and that might help. So it's like, helps me.
Yeah. So I would get in the gym with my pre-workout, and I'd take pre-workout, and then I'd get like,
you're like a different person.
You just gotta go. And something.
No, I'm just talking about him walking into my house and yelling at me about my dishes, or my couch is not where it's supposed to be, or
you don't have a couch.
Gotcha.
The little thing that looks kind of like a couch that can seat a person. It's a chair. That's what it is.
So
anyway,
we might come back to this in a later episode and go into some of the other characteristics of a good man. But if you guys had to pick one word or one attribute to describe a good man, what would y'all choose?
Huggable.
Yeah. Okay, you have a serious word?
Courageous.
Courageous, okay.
Dangerous.
Ooh, I kind of like that one.
I like that too. That's a whole nother conversation that we could go.
That is a whole other conversation.
That's I like where your head is.
Go watch Warrior Poet Society, How to Be the Most Dangerous Man in the Room. You'll understand completely. Mm-hmm. Hey, look at Reagan's shirt right there, Warrior Poet Society. Shout out as if they're gonna watch this, you know. Yeah, right.
Noah, you got a word?
Loving.
Okay.
Huggable.
Not the same thing. You know, like a man of steel and velvet, specifically the velvet part, you know?
Okay.
A warrior
That's
poet.
good.
Yeah. Good. I would say warrior is probably my word.
So a dangerous, loving, courageous warrior.
You just want a hug, man.
You just want to hug.
Right.
All right. let's move on. We're gonna.
Like, would that be under vulnerable?
What the
Huggable?
huggable part?
Like, yeah, like a man has to be vulnerable with his wife, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess that would still be a good
Probably
word.
have to be pretty huggable with her too.
That's why I'm working on my.
Actually, we're gonna do an episode probably in the future, and let's talk about what a tender warrior is, because a tender
I'm
warrior,
cool with it.
I think, a
That's
perfect
a good one.
of what a godly man is. So
Yeah.
All right, let's move on here. We're gonna talk about your influences in your friend group, who you hang out with, who you decide to be friends with or really close friends with, and just how to be cautious in that area. Because as a young guy,
this is my group, so this is why I'm broken. So it's fine.
well, it's it's confusing when you're growing up how to judge, and we got to be careful how we say this. How to judge character, yeah, and
Yeah.
People, you hear all the time. It's like you're not supposed to judge other people, and people skew that from the Bible all the time. As Christians, we are absolutely called to judge other Christians' character and their where their heart is and their actions. And the Bible has so much to say about who you allow to influence you. It says, if you talk with the wise, you will become wise. If you hang out with fools, you will become fools. And so, coupling that with all the verses that talk about just using discernment, just simple wisdom. It's not easy, or it's not hard to draw the conclusion that you should definitely judge who you're going to hang out with and be careful and selective about who that is. So, what's kind of the process for you guys on doing that? Or maybe there's not like a checklist you run through, but just kind of what are maybe some red flags you look for when choosing who you're going to get really close to and allow to influence you?
I'd probably say if you don't admire the person that you're going to be friends with and you don't want to be like them, then that's probably not somebody you need to associate with. Reagan, Noah, Austin, Cameron is one of our other friends. Like, I would, if I could be like those guys, I would be happy. So I think it's always good to look up to the people that you're friends with and have things that you admire about them. They don't have to be perfect, because there are things about Austin that I really, really hate with a huge burning passion inside my heart. But there are a lot of things that I admire about him as well. His
Love
face,
you too, buddy.
He's very beautiful.
Love you too, buddy.
That's a great point. Great point. Yeah.
Austin is beautiful.
I would say, well, Austin, you're gonna go.
I mean, it was kind of the same. Like, just growing up, being a missionary kid, I think I had it a little bit easier. Like, the people that were around were very similar to me. Like, they had the same background as me. Their parents were missionaries. Now, that don't always just because someone's a missionary kid assume that they're going to be great, but or that they love Jesus. But for the most part, like, that is the case. And so everywhere I've lived, like, I mean, left the mission field, came straight here and went to Leaders Academy. And so I've been surrounded by good people at every turn in life. And so for me, it's been more like what Colton's saying, watching their lives and seeing, like, I haven't had any friends where it's been the case of like, I actually need to distance myself from this person. I have never had that experience, but watching people's lives, like our friends that we have here, like you three, Cameron, Kavon, like guys in our lives that we look at and we wouldn't mind if our life looked more like theirs. And I think that's one way to judge it. And those are people that you can count on. Like, trustworthiness is a big deal for me. So, like, you know, when I tell someone something, I do test people. Like, I've tested y'all, I've tested pretty much everyone I'm close to. I tell y'all things, and I'll tell someone else something a little bit different just to see which story spreads, and then I know who I can trust. Just because,
whoa!
What?
Mind games.
Closing the strats. Hold up, bro.
And, well, all of y'all passed it. None of the stories ever spread, so it was fine.
Austin's over here like,
hey,
devising a
There
plan.
may be some trust issues we need to talk about, Austin.
that's possible. That's also the case.
No, but that's a great point. That's a great point. Yeah.
But yeah.
But I mean, no, that's valid though. Like, are your friends safe?
Yeah.
Safe, unsafe people quickly lose all of their friendships, because an unsafe person, for example, is for example, you tell someone something. Yeah, hey man, I'm thinking about this. I'm struggling with this, or I don't know what I think about this decision or this person. And then, for example, you're in another setting where you're in a larger group of people, and now that friend is using what you've told them to make conversation and exploiting that in order for them to look better in a social setting. That for me is an immediate red flag. So, and also it's wise, it's always good to learn from other people's mistakes. So I can remember certain times in high school, for example, where a friend would let me and another person know what's going on, right? And then we're in a social setting sometime later, and the other person that was there shares this information in order to have a better standing, right? People tend to use gossip as a way to promote themselves socially. And so if you're seeing someone do that, that's an immediate red flag.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Proverbs, I'll pull up the verse on the screen right now, but Proverbs talks about gossipers just being something like the lowest of the low, and don't ever associate with a gossiper. Get rid of them. Do not talk to gossips. If you're around someone who gossips, just run from that. So that's a great point. I would say probably the number one thing I look for in my friend group, because I am pretty selective in who I call friends or brothers or, whatever you want to label it, is definitely iron sharpening. And probably the foundation to that happening is if you're on the same path. If you're both running towards the Lord and you're both trying to become better men, that's typically all I need to be able to have iron sharpening iron there. And so I've had that with all of you guys, with Cameron as well, several of the people from Hot Springs. Whenever we get together and we talk, there's always some kind of iron sharpening iron there. There's mutual encouragement, as Paul puts it in Romans. And so that's probably the main thing I look for. So if you're a young guy right now looking for your friends, and if you kind of realize that you are friends with some people who there's just absolutely no iron sharpening iron there, you're not lifting each other up to become better. And if they're at all tearing you down, then maybe you need to think about distancing yourself from those kind of people. Because if you hang out with fools, you'll become fools. And if you hang out with the wise, you'll become wise. So
on the other side of that, though,
Proverbs 13:20, actually, Reagan, I have it right here. It says, he that walketh with wise men shall be wise, but a companion of fools will be destroyed. So you don't want to get destroyed. Awkward.
On the other side of that, I would talk to the fact that if you are noticing you don't have that or you can't find that, I would take a look at yourself and look at those things, because you might not have that because the good friends around you see those red flags in you and they're not willing to risk themselves. I don't know how to word that, but if you're a gossip, the good friends around you aren't going to risk being around you for their sake. Like, that's them. And so if the case is it's you've got to change some things. You've got to become the friend that you're looking for.
Like attracts like iron doesn't sharpen plastic. Plastic can't sharpen iron. So you got to be the friend that you want.
Yeah, that's a great point. That is actually something to encourage somebody. If you're listening to this and you maybe notice that you are that friend that other people don't want to hang out with, at that point, there's still hope, obviously, to
for real
friends. You just have to be, and this is just where honesty comes in. You need to be honest with your friends. Ask them, what do I need to work on? How can I become better? Because you raised a great point, Austin, that if they're doing what the Bible says, to not hang around gossipers and to not be open with a gossiper, to not even entertain conversation with a fool, then you can't blame them. If you're that fool, they're gonna want to converse with you. Then you have to humble yourself and you have to say, what do I need to work on? And then at that point, there can start to be some mutual encouragement there. So that's a great point.
Yeah, that obviously takes humility.
For real.
That's a whole episode, man.
Yeah.
A humble man. That might be one of the hardest things a guy has to do is learn humility. Because that stuff's
Real
hard.
humility.
It is.
You have to humble yourself before the Lord does it for you. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Yep. It's very true.
I feel like guys are naturally born with just an insane amount of pride. Like, we come out the womb thinking we're the king of the world.
We do, man.
That's crazy.
That is our sin nature, bro. That is what men are born to naturally think.
Pride can also be masked as insecurity. So if you think like, oh, I don't struggle with pride, I'm really insecure, I think really low of myself, it's like, that is not it. Like, humility isn't thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less.
Yes. That is very true. If you're watching this, write that down, because that is such a truth nugget to remember. That's a truth nugget, man.
Whoa, that's a t-shirt.
I'm sure that probably is already. That's a very common phrase. You've never heard that?
Truth nugget?
Bro talk truth nugget.
Or like a golden nugget out of a conversation.
I've heard golden nugget. I've never heard truth nugget.
Well,
Never
maybe I just coined that right now. Maybe I might make a shirt out of it.
Freshly fried.
No, but Colton, say that again for people listening, because that is very, very good to know.
Humility isn't thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less. So you're not supposed to be putting yourself down and thinking of yourself as a less of a man, but you're supposed to think about others more than you think about yourself.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's a misconception about humility in the Bible. You know, nowhere in the Bible does it ever say to degrade yourself, other than the fact that we are not perfect and we need Jesus. In that light, yeah, that's where you need to say, I'm, basically dirt and I need Jesus. But then when you become empowered through the Holy Spirit, at that point, you are called to so much more. You're called to be a kingdom of God. And humility is not putting yourself down now. It's putting others above you in importance and focusing on other people. That's humility. It's not.
Yeah, the Bible says to love others as you love yourself. So the Bible tells you to love yourself. Because every man should, in a sense, love himself. And if you don't, then you probably have some daddy issues that you have to work through. And those are real. Daddy issues are real.
They really are.
Not making light of it.
Yeah.
Dude, I feel like we've keyed on so many other topics we can talk on.
I know.
This is going to be going for a while.
Each new episode, we're just going to have to go watch the previous and then pick all the things that we want to expound on and go deeper into. So we've talked a little bit about like your circle of friends, the influences of people. What are some things you guys would suggest as a young man growing up? What are some things that they can do to kind of evaluate or practice picking the right kind of people to hang around?
Your top 5 friends. I can't remember what book that came from, but it's your top 5 friends. Take a look at those, or it might just be the top 5 people you hang around the most. You're going to be of those top 5 people. And so it's important.
You cut out there for a second. What was the reference from that from?
I think it was originally coined from Confucius. I think he's the one that kind of coined the phrase, like, show me your top 5 friends and I'll show you your future.
Gotcha.
Yeah. No, yeah, that makes sense. Anyway, but yeah, it's true though. And it's also, like we talked about earlier, like what Austin said, that means taking a look at yourself too, because you're going to be one of those people for someone else. Yep. And so if you're a good friend, right, you're going to be active in 1, trying to hold your brothers accountable, and 2, being proactive in bringing people into your life that are going to hold you accountable for the things that you do. So,
Colton, I think you made the comment earlier that it's becoming the friend that you would want your friends to be friends with. And I know I'd botch that, but there's a book we read during LA. I think it was Love, Sex, and Dating by Andy Stanley. Mm-hmm. It talks about how in relationships in your future marriage, you have to become the person you're looking for is looking for. And it works the same with friends, right? If you are looking for friends, become the kind of person that your friends are going to be looking for, the people that you want to be friends with. Does that make sense? Or did I just totally agree?
No, it makes sense.
Okay, cool.
Be the kind of friend that you want your friends to want.
Right. Thank you, Austin. He who has ears, let him hear.
Yeah.
Use the Holy Spirit to interpret that, okay?
If you didn't get anything from that, then just wait around a couple more minutes. We got some more stuff for you. Don't worry.
We got some more truth nuggets.
Yes. Well, I actually wanted to ask you guys what any good podcasts that y'all would recommend for anybody looking to start off, just wanting to kind of start on this path of growing and learning how to sharpening iron. We did some book suggestions in the last one, but I don't think we've talked about podcast yet or
my first podcast would probably be Order of Man by Ryan Mickler. His is really, really good, and it talks a lot about like how to be a man. He goes and interviews lots of big names. Like I think he's interviewed Jocko, Willink. Maybe he might have been on the Joe Rogan. Everything fell apart. I'm back. Maybe. There we go.
Cool. We're back. Yeah, that's a great podcast. I've listened to that one a couple episodes, and he did do he had Jocko Willink on, and that was a great episode. So Order of Man, check out that one. What's the guy's name again? Ryan
Mickler. Michler.
Okay, cool. I'll put that one down in the description below.
I don't know the name of the podcast, but John Eldridge did a series kind of like Wild at Heart, his book that we recommended last week. Did a podcast where he takes men camping, and they just talk about like manhood and what it means to be a man. So that podcast was. I honestly don't remember what it was. I watched it probably 3 or 4 years ago. So it's really good though. Just don't remember what it was called. But it was John Eldridge and a couple of guys went camping.
I don't know. So the guy I'm about to say is not a Christian, but he does talk a lot about Christ and the Bible and stuff. So if you're going to listen to him, take everything he says with a grain of salt. Jordan Peterson, I've listened to so many hours of his teaching. He's a Canadian psychologist. If you're watching this, I guarantee you've heard of Jordan Peterson before us. If not, I'll be extraordinarily surprised. But
yeah, this is a whole nother conversation, but he's a great guy to listen to challenge your intellect with higher vocabulary and just higher levels of thinking. Even if you there's a lot of things he says that I still don't understand, but it's a great exercise to expound your knowledge and your capacity for knowledge by just listening to people who are smarter. And even if you don't understand it, the more you listen to it, the more familiar you become with it, and then the easier it becomes to understand. So,
yeah, I read 12 Rules for Life and was like, okay, that's pretty easy to understand for the most part. And I went and read his other one that was more of an upper level book, not made for the common man, and it's called Maps of Meaning. I got through like a chapter and a half and my head started hurting. I was like, I need to Google half the words this man is saying.
Yeah.
It's insane. He's like on a different level intellectually. It's crazy.
Yeah. Same with like Thomas Sowell. If y'all don't know who Thomas Sowell is.
He's really smart too.
Anybody watching this, Thomas Sowell is like the leading economic influencer in America right now. And he's just incredibly smart. I forget how old he is now. He's probably late 60s, maybe early 70s. Just and his story too is really, really incredible. So cool. Well, I think we've pretty much hit the most common things that we could talk about on those topics, but maybe in a later episode we'll go a little bit more detail as well into the whole friend group idea and how to do that kind of stuff. So if y'all have questions that you would like us guys to talk about, leave them in the comments below and we will answer those and possibly talk about them on the podcast. Any future suggestions for topics for us to cover, we're always open to doing that kind of thing. So thank you guys for your time again, joining us for episode 2 of the Bro Talk podcast. We will see you guys in episode 3. You trying to get Ryan Reynolds back?
Woo, woo.
Later, guys.
Later.
Bye.